Hello, welcome to the Sports Philanthropy Podcast. I am your host, Roy Kessel, and we are very excited today to have with us Daniel Aarons. Daniel is the founder of Family Ballpark Memories, and he's going to share the background and story of why he started this organization. So, Daniel, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ryan. I'm excited to join you today.
I know you're doing some really interesting stuff to give people an opportunity to be at the ballpark, but before we get to that and dive into the great work you're doing now, let's go back a little bit in your lifetime and talk about what got you interested in sports and this kind of project. So back us up as you were growing up. Where was your passion for sports?
Growing up, I was always a big sports fan. I was fortunate I got to go to a lot of different games with my dad. I got to play a bunch of different sports. And I always just fell in love with going to see my favorite teams play, whether it be going to Yankee Stadium or going to watch the Giants play football. It was always something that really stuck out to me about all of the great times and family memories I made going to different games. So I wanted to create a little bit of a passion project to just share that love of sports with those who are less fortunate.
So as you were talking about your passion for sports when you were growing up, what's your first memory of going to a game?
My first memory of going to a game was a Yankee Red Sox game in the summer of 2003. The pitching matchup was Pedro and Clemens, but I really remember from that day was wanting an ice cream in the little helmet cup. So that's my first sports memory.
That's pretty good matchup to get Pedro and Clemens dueling. You didn't realize what a matchup for the ages that would be as your first experience.
Of course, but on a hot summer day as a 5-year-old, you don't seem to realize that quite as much.
So the real important question coming out of that Helmet Cup Sunday is, did you get vanilla, chocolate, or swirl as your ice cream?
Vanilla with the rainbow sprinkles.
There we go. Uh, so it's I think all of us, the first time we go to a sporting event, our eyes pop open and you're going to a major league ballpark or arena, and it's quite the experience, as you said, as a 5-year-old on a beautiful day. That's a great opportunity. And I think, as you've told me about the work that you're doing, that really is something that translates into the project you're working on now. But as you progressed, um, did baseball remain your favorite sport as you were going through high school and college?
As I've gotten older, I've moved more towards the NFL just because it's a little easier to follow with it just being one game a week, at least for the team that you root for. So it's a little more flexible. But for a lot of people, I see baseball being their first love because it's there for you every single night when you're a little kid. I think something that you can easily follow along with.
So now you're going through and you're moving towards the NFL, but tell us a little bit about school and your education. What did you go through in terms of college and beyond?
I studied public relations at the State University of New York at Oswego. I graduated in May of 2018. And I'm in the process of getting a master's degree in nonprofit management from Baruch College. I'll be done with that program this upcoming December.
So you did the public relations, and now you're going into the nonprofit side. Um, you've seen, you've picked a crazy time to be going through school and coming out trying to start a nonprofit in the COVID era is probably not the ideal time for most people from a fundraising perspective. But what gave you the passion as you were going through it at SUNY Oswego in the PR side? What did you see there that led you to have the interest in the nonprofit management?
When I was in undergrad, I ran philanthropy through my fraternity, and our philanthropy cause was St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So just getting the opportunity to raise money through such a great organization, it really led to a passion of making a difference with the work that I do. By studying PR, it allowed for a universal skill set that's easily transferable to many different sectors, including the not-for-profit sector.
So how did you get connected to St. Jude's? Was that something they were already doing through the fraternity?
Yeah, so my fraternity was Tau Kappa Epsilon, and we have a strong relationship with St. Jude. And each year, my local chapter, we tried to raise $10,000 for them.
Well, it's a great opportunity, I think, when people are in college and in school to get their feet wet and have a chance to be part of a live, real organization that's raising money. I know I did a lot of that in college as well, and even though the dollars may not sound like a lot to people that raise money for bigger scale organizations on the outside, when you're in school, that's a lot of money. I remember we did things through some fundraising initiatives, and if you raise 15 to $20,000, that was like a huge amount to raise for the through the school. So I congratulate you on getting involved early. And tell us a little bit about the program you're in now at Baruch College.
So the program I'm in now at Brewer College is a great program. I've been enrolled in it since I finished undergrad. So the fall of 2018, I've taken courses on fundraising, grant management, strategic development. I've taken a few courses on just governance and how to build a board and really manage a philanthropic organization.
And what's your favorite part of that now that you're almost done with the program? You said you're finishing up in a few months here. So tell us what direction is your passion there?
I would say just for the program, I've had a lot of unique experiences. I've got to learn from some people who have 50 years of experience in the sector. So just finding ways to blend their experience with my more new mindset. I'm most work settings I'm in, I'm one of the younger people there. So being able to learn how to interact with peers who have so much more experience and how we can collaborate to make a difference has been one of the most useful parts of that program.
So I always find it interesting when you hear about the different programs in schools of what's going on and trying to understand like what are they teaching and how many people are in this kind of program, because frequently I think one of the critiques of many um, academic programs is that the individuals teaching it haven't been out and really working in that space. So tell us a little bit about some of the work and training that you went through in the program.
I've been fortunate. All of my professors have great work experience. One of my professors this semester has 54 years of fundraising experience. He was one of the very first donors of the Bronx Zoo. So he has a lot of experience in raising money, contributing money. So it's great to see that I have teachers who are just experienced in the sector and passionate about sharing their knowledge and all of the tricks that made them successful for so many years.
Well, that's fantastic. It sounds like a great initiative and great opportunity for what you're doing. So um, tell us a little bit then about how you came to the vision of what you're doing now.
Family ballpark memories is always something that I wanted to create. I've always been passionate about sports, and I've always wanted to use my passion and create an impact for others. So I had some time this past spring with my school schedule being a little more relaxed and taking a break in my professional career to really start an organization to just share my passion and share my love of sports. So I used the time that I had to create an organization and lay the foundation for sustainable success for family ballpark memories.
So as you looked at what you're doing at Baruch College and you started putting together this concept, what part of family ballpark memories really jumped out at you as saying like this is what's really going to make a difference, this is how I can truly impact the community?
Just by having an emphasis on strong branding and understanding the importance of partnerships when building a program. A lot of nonprofits don't realize that you can work and you can collaborate with your peers and you can use that to create stronger programmatic initiatives. So learning that throughout the course of my classes and finding innovative ways to work with other great organizations is one thing that I try to carry over into my work with Family Ballpark Memories.
So as you look to the types of partnerships that you want to create, help our audience understand what we can do to be supportive and help facilitate some of those partnerships and connections.
We're interested in working with both sport teams, sports agencies, but we're also interested in working with social service groups, groups that are in local communities to have access to working with families and have access to working with children and providing experiences. And we're also looking to get involved with school districts and local communities and neighborhoods so we can work with them when we're in a position to send families to different games and to different ballparks and stadiums, that we have relationships with individuals, corporations, and everyone who we meet to make sure that our program can be successful and the people that we're sending out to different experiences can really benefit from our types of programming.
Well, it sounds like you have the opportunity to connect and reach with a lot of groups. Um, Help people understand a bit more about the vision of what you want to create in terms of the scope and scale. Are you focused just in your local area? Is this something you're looking to take regionally, nationally?
Family Ballpark Memories right now is operating on a local to New York region, but our vision is setting up hubs for New York, Chicago, Detroit, and Cleveland, and focusing on how we can make sure that every family has the opportunity to go and see their favorite teams play. The cities that we selected all have great fan bases, they all have great local teams. And our goal is to make sure that everyone who wants the opportunity to go to a Detroit Red Wing game can get that opportunity. Everyone who wants to go to Wrigley Field can go and see the Cubs. So that's what our vision is.
So as you start having people reach out that have those desires to attend the games, what's the process for them to connect with you in order to become an opportunity to be part of that?
Right now, we're working for a referral basis. So if they're referred to us by one of our partner and social service organizations or one of the schools that we work with, that's how we'll work with that. So if they're already involved with a community group or involved with their school and our part and it comes to us through our partner that they have a participant who would be a great fit for our program, that's how we're operating right now.
So as you can imagine, as you grow, that's going to be a big challenge logistically to manage all of those requests and all the different partnerships that you're talking about. So um, the opportunity to go to the games, how is that processed in terms of access to the venues or the tickets or the teams?
We've been fortunate so far locally. We've built partnerships with the Brooklyn Nets, the New York Mets, and we have contacts with the New York Giants. And we're able to either get tickets donated or purchase tickets at a discounted rate. We're hoping to send some fans out to Citi Field in April if it's permitted under state and local guidelines. We're just hoping as we continue to grow, season ticket holders will donate some of their spare tickets and we'll continue to just strengthen our relationships with the teams in our highlighted markets.
I'm sure it's easier now to be able to transfer tickets. A lot of it can be done electronically. So even if somebody has relatively last minute tickets available, they can reach out to you. But logistically, what's a realistic time frame that you need to know about tickets in advance of a game?
Probably 72 hours.
Okay. And as you have started working on this process with these partnerships, it sounds like you're off to a great start in the New York market there. I'm sure the other organizations hear about the work that you're doing, and you can certainly build up that base of support by having them know that this is something that you do. Um, do you work with a target group in terms of going or having anybody escort the individuals to the games, or do you just provide the tickets and then they kind of are on their own for the experience at the ballpark?
Our plan is to let our families enjoy their experience by themselves. Let them go to the stadium, let them enjoy their time, let them spend the time as a group and not be distracted by other outside forces. We hope as we continue to grow to arrange that they'll have access to the field where they'll get to meet their favorite players, but that involves us to continue to strengthen our brand, our partnerships, and put those pieces in place.
Well, I think it's a terrific model, and I like the idea that you talk about because even just embedded in the name of Family Ballpark Memories, right? It's the family memories of going to the ballpark with the family, not being part of some other group or in a sense escorted around or chaperoned through the experience. Every family wants to experience that in a different way, and I love the fact that you're providing those for families and then leaving them to, as you said, get the experience that they're looking for within the context of the ballpark that they're at. So do a lot of the requests come in for a specific team, or are you finding that more of the requests are just like would like to go to a game?
Right now, our requests have been more apparel based. Without being able to send people to different games due to COVID, we've shifted our efforts towards just providing jerseys and team apparel. And we've noticed that a lot of requests have been for Brooklyn Nets apparel or NBA apparel, just due to the fact that the NBA is in season right now, and it's such a star-driven league where a lot of kids fall in love with their favorite player and they idolize them.
So you've got that apparel base now. I know New York is getting ready to open up some capacity for fans. One thing we know about this whole COVID era is whatever restrictions and rules are in place today could be different tomorrow, next week, or a month from now. So I'm sure that that makes it hard to plan. But let's jump ahead a little bit. We've talked a lot about getting started up. We've talked a little bit about where you want to go, but let's jump ahead and talk about what you see when, let's just say that hopefully the sports world is back to normal in 2022, and now you're sitting there. What kind of flow do you think you're going to see in terms of requests for attending games?
We expect to have a heavy request load for the NFL. NFL tickets are so expensive. There's only 8 home games a year. You know, the NFL, even if the Super Bowl was not as watched this year, is still the most popular sport in our country. So we expect a lot of requests for the NFL. We expect a lot of requests for the NBA. Everybody loves to see the star player come to town. And we expect to even see a requests from hockey. A lot of fans in lower income communities haven't been exposed to hockey. We expect for them to want to have the opportunity to go and try something new that they haven't experienced before.
And given the process for the requests and everything that's going on, talk about what you would see as the process or procedure for making decisions as to how to allocate those tickets, because I'm sure you're going to get way more requests than you have tickets. So when you get 50 requests and you've got 10 tickets, what's that process look like?
We'll want to take a look to make sure that they've never attended a game before, make sure that they're coming through us for a referral for one of our partnering groups, and have them write a short blurb about what the experience would mean to them, share some of their memories around sports, and just really take the time to read through the people and read through who's applying. I'm not looking at numbers, I'm not looking necessarily at how many people we can send or what kind of people we can send. We're looking to just learn about people. It's going to be more about who they are and why they want this opportunity.
Well, I'm sure you're going to have some great stories coming out of all of those experiences that you're going to share. Um, how are you helping those families tell the stories of their experiences?
We'll be setting up little interviews with them where we'll be recording them after their experience. We'll ask that they provide a photo, and we'll turn that into material on social media. We'll write little blogs about it, and we'll be sure every time they go to a game to provide them with a high resolution photo, and that will be bought for them for the team store. Most ballparks now, when you enter, they take your photo upon entry, and they buy the picture at the team store. We'll be sure to provide that.
So that sounds like a great opportunity for a family, as you said, that one of your criteria is that they've never been to a game before. And as you and I talked about, you had an opportunity to go to a game at 5 years old. I certainly had an opportunity as a young kid to attend events. It was something special. The first time you walk in there, that's a feeling that really can't be replicated. It's hard to imagine what it's like, and yet there's so many families that live really in very close proximity to all of these parks and stadiums and arenas that have never been to a game, right? They may have walked by, they see all the lights, they see all the merchandise, but they've never had a chance to be on the inside. It's a completely different environment.
Of course, if you look at where the White Sox play, it's right on the south side of Chicago. The Yankees play in the Bronx, and the next play in Brooklyn. There's a lot of teams who are right in the environment of so many of their fans, and they never get to go and experience watching them play. It's a feeling of exclusion.
So you've got family ballpark memories off the ground now. What do you look back on in this first stage that you've gone through as one of your biggest challenges to get off the ground?
As a younger person who's not as well connected, it was hard building a board. I wanted to build a board of people who have deep connections in the sports industry, people who have experience working with nonprofits before, and people who are just passionate about the mission. So finding a group of individuals who can really help us grow and be a part of the board was a big challenge, but I'm thankful to have a group of 9 people who have all been great board members and they all bring a different skill set to the table.
And that's a terrific accomplishment. I know that building boards is an art, and it's definitely a skill. We see a lot of organizations where the founders figuratively just kind of put out their arms, and whoever was closest to them, they just pulled them in to be on the board, and all of a sudden they've got a 9-person board and there's only 2 or 3 people that are really interested or engaged in being part of what the activities are. So it sounds like you've gone about it the right way to create a group that really has that passion and energy to support what you're doing. Um, so now look ahead a little bit, as you go forward. What do you see as some of the areas where you could use help and support from people in our network to uh, facilitate relationships or opportunities for family ballpark memories?
We would love to just find new opportunities for funding. I know every nonprofit and every charitable organization, that's what they'll tell you. We're interested in getting more involved in the grant space and just finding different programs that we can sponsor or co-sponsor or different events that we can attend. We love learning and we love growing. We attended the Sports Philanthropy World Conference back in October, and that was a great experience. So I'm just finding different opportunities where we can learn and network with people.
Well, it looks like you're doing the right things on all of those fronts for networking and connecting. I know you've been a valued member of the network, and we're part, as you said, part of Sports Philanthropy World, and we look forward to having you involved again for this year for Sports Philanthropy World, which is going to be June 28th and 29th. virtual again, because we know a lot of people still may not be willing to travel and congregate in larger groups. Nobody knows where the governmental restrictions and regulations are going to be by June. So we're going to be virtual again, and we're excited to have you involved. So Daniel, I want to congratulate you on what you've been able to accomplish in really a very short amount of time, and at a very young age, as you said, starting without having all of the business contacts that many people might have when they launch their organizations. So before I let you go, I want to give you an opportunity to tell people how to best find out information about Family Ballpark Memories and how to reach you.
You can go to our website, which is familyballparkmemories.org. And on our website, it links to all of our social media, our Facebook and our Instagram. And then you can always shoot me over an email at daniel@familyballparkmemories.org.
So again, Daniel's got all that information for everybody who's listening and watching. You can go on our website on the blog, and you'll see the page dedicated to Daniel and to Family Ballpark Memories that will be there with all of the links to his social media accounts and the website and everything for Family Ballpark Memories. So Daniel, before we let you go, we want to take a minute here and put you on the hot seat. We're going to wave our sports philanthropy magic wand, and we're going to let you pick a sport that you want to be commissioner of.
I'm going to pick Major League Baseball.
Okay, so now you've taken over, and you've moved Rob off to the side and taken over his office there. And what's your first action as commissioner?
The first action might be a little selfish. I'm stripping the Astros of their 2017 World Series title. So that's what I'm doing first. And then I'm going to make some rules that will just get kids more involved with the game and find ways to just reach younger audiences. Baseball's been trying for almost a decade to reach younger audiences, and it still hasn't quite figured it out just yet. And I don't think that the 7 inning double headers or the runner starting on second base is how they're going to reach younger audiences. I think it requires a little more thought behind besides that.
Well, it's interesting when you raise that point, because one of the struggles that I see in baseball, especially at the younger ages, is the game is very slow, and you'll be there throughout the whole game, and you may have an opportunity to bat maybe 3 or 4 times. You're going to be in the field, and unless you're playing pitcher, catcher, shortstop, maybe first base, you're going to have very few opportunities to touch the ball in the field. And I remember sitting with my son at baseball games, right? And you're there, and these games are going on for little kid, 8 to 10 years old, and these games are going on for 2.5 hours, 3 hours, and because the kids are pitching, and you've got so few opportunities to touch the ball, and you compare it to a sport like basketball or soccer, where even if you're not the ball handler, you're not the one with the ball all the time.
You're
You're
running
doing
up and
something.
down.
You're moving, right? You're running up and down the field. So you're going to probably touch the ball more, but at minimum, you're in the game. You're moving your body. You're part of the action. And it's just such a different feeling. And those sports are all done in about an hour. You play the whole game in about an hour. So you're moving 10 times as much in an hour as you do in a 3-hour game of baseball. And I think that that's really one of the challenges that baseball has with the young kids, and maybe with the generation of how do you speed up the game, get people more actively involved so it doesn't take so long. And it's an issue even with fans, as you pointed out, where people are sitting and watching a game on TV, and there's, they've started putting like the pitch clock on to try and accelerate the pace. I think that's going to be helpful, but like you said, it's artificially constrained if you're going to stick a runner on second base and you're going to start changing the length of the game because it's a double header. I mean, that'd be like telling a football game is 3 quarters and a basketball game, a hockey game, we're going to cut off after 2 periods. It's just not what the game consists of. It just doesn't make logical sense.
Of course, and I don't even think the issue with baseball is that it's a long game. An NFL game on a Sunday could be a 3-hour game, but the NFL promotes its star players. Baseball has to do a better job of getting all of its marquee stars well known. Mike Trout is the face of the best player in baseball, and he's been the best player in baseball for 10 years. But Major League Baseball has done such a poor job of turning him into an icon and turning him into a brand by getting players by getting fans and kids more engaged with iconic players. More kids will want to play baseball. More kids will want to be the next Mike Trout because the whole generation grew up wanting to be the next Mickey Mantle. Then you saw the shift towards the NBA. A whole generation grew up wanting to be Michael Jordan. So it's figuring out how to get the kids excited about the great talent in the game.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that. I know we were down at the Super Bowl and had the fortune to go to an event that was hosted by David Ortiz and at Top Golf in Tampa. And shout out for them for an amazing event. And they raised a lot of money. We're waiting to see what the final numbers look like. But he was there. He had Johnny Damon there. So there was a heavy baseball influence, even though it was surrounding a football event. And it's interesting because it seems like baseball should be a really easy sport to promote your stars because number one, you're not hidden behind a helmet. Number two, maybe a batting helmet for a little bit, but most of the time you're not behind a helmet. Number two, it's a very individualized game. Of all the sports out there, right? The individual stats in baseball are much more important and relevant because your individual batting average isn't affected significantly by the batting averages or how the other teams, people on your team are doing it. So it's really an interesting phenomenon that baseball, as you said, hasn't done a better job of building a stable of stars, right? They usually have a handful of people that are the face of the league, but they're really not promoting and building up a whole array of players, right? You've got plenty of teams and plenty of players. It shouldn't be that hard to find 25 to 50 guys that you can really heavily promote and that are doing great things in their community and are doing great things on the field. So I agree with you. I think that's a big miss for MLB.
Of course, and there's 162 games. There's so much opportunity to get these guys seen and have access to them. It's frustrating that baseball hasn't capitalized on it more. So that's why I'm taking Rob Manfred's job if I have the opportunity to.
Well, again, Daniel, I want to congratulate you on the great work that you're doing. Thank you so much for joining our show.
Of course. Thank you, Roy.
And to all of our listeners and viewers, we appreciate you joining us today on the Sports Philanthropy Podcast. We hope you'll join us for our next episode. Don't forget, this is Roy Kessel signing off. Please live generously.